Jack Gallagher stared out the viewport of the diplomatic shuttle and tried not to throw up. Space travel didn't agree with him. Neither did diplomacy, if he was being honest. Which made his current assignment as Earth's first representative to the Galactic Council a cosmic joke of interstellar proportions. "You gonna make it, Ambassador?" Commander Kira Novak didn't look up from her datapad. Her tone suggested she was asking about the weather, not whether he was about to redecorate the shuttle with his breakfast. "I'm fine," Jack lied. "And please stop calling me Ambassador. We both know I'm just a placeholder because nobody else would take the job." Kira finally glanced up, her expression as unyielding as her military-perfect posture. "You were the only cultural anthropologist who hadn't fled when the aliens made contact. That makes you qualified in the government's book." "I was hungover and slept through the evacuation," Jack muttered. Details. Kira returned to her datapad. "We're making history here. First humans to sit on the Galactic Council. Try to look less green." Jack would have argued, but the shuttle chose that moment to lurch violently to the left. His stomach followed shortly after. "That's not supposed to happen," Kira observed, suddenly alert. She unstrapped herself and moved toward the cockpit with practiced efficiency. "Pilot, report status." The pilot, an AI interface with a suspiciously cheery voice, responded, "Minor technical difficulties, Commander. Nothing to worry about." Another lurch, this time accompanied by a shrieking alarm. "That sounds like something to worry about," Jack pointed out. "Correction," the AI amended. "Major technical difficulties. Catastrophic system failure imminent." Kira slid into the co-pilot's seat. "Override. Manual control. Unable to comply. Navigation systems compromised. Thrusters at 12% capacity." Jack unstrapped himself, stumbling toward the cockpit. "Where are we anyway?" "May." The view screen showed a massive space station, elegant and ornate, shaped like a giant silver lotus flower. And they were heading straight for it. "That," Kira said with remarkable calm, "is the Galactic Council headquarters. The one we're supposed to dock with." "Yes." Yes. "We're coming in a bit hot, aren't we?" "Yes. It just too vanilla." The AI chimed in helpfully. "Impact in 20 seconds. Jack clutched at the back of Kira's seat. "So, not the diplomatic entrance we were hoping for?" Kira's fingers flew over the controls. "Shut up and brace for impact." As the shuttle careened toward the most important political structure in known space, Jack couldn't help but think this wasn't covered in the brief cultural orientation video he'd been shown. The one that had conspicuously failed to mention that humans were unique among galactic species in one critical way: they evolved on what other civilizations termed a death world. Had he known this useful bit of information, he might have reconsidered accepting the position, or at least asked for hazard pay. "Impact in 5 seconds, the AI announced cheerfully. "It's been a pleasure serving with you." Jack's last thought before the crash was that diplomatic immunity probably didn't cover property damage on this scale. The shuttle crashed through the crystal dome of the council chamber with all the subtlety of a rhino doing ballet. Reinforced hull plating tore through the supposedly indestructible transparent material, sending shards raining down on the assembled delegates. Emergency force fields snapped into place almost immediately, protecting the aliens from the debris, but not from the spectacle of a human vessel making an unscheduled entrance. Inside the shuttle, airbags deployed with military precision, saving Jack and Kira from becoming human pancakes. The ship's internal systems were doing their job perfectly. The external systems, specifically the ones meant to prevent crashing into intergalactic political summits, had obviously taken the day off. "Status report," Kira barked, already unbuckling herself. Jack groaned from beneath his airbag. "Still alive." "Unfortunately." The shuttle had come to rest at a tilted angle in the center of what appeared to be a massive circular chamber. Through the cracked viewport, Jack could see hundreds of alien faces at least. He assumed they were faces all staring at their vessel with expressions that transcended species barriers. Universal shock looked the same on tentacles, eye stalks, or mandibles. "We should," Jack began. Establish a defensive perimeter, Kira finished, pulling out a standard-issue sidearm. I was going to say apologize profusely, but sure, let's add brandishing weapons to our interstellar incident bingo card. The shuttle's door hissed open, revealing a semicircle of what Jack could only describe as extremely agitated extraterrestrials. Most were backing away rapidly. Some appeared to be praying. At least 3 had fainted. Jack stepped forward, hands raised in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. Hello, we come in peace. Technical difficulties, totally unintentional crash. Very sorry about your ceiling. Kira followed, her weapon now holstered but her eyes scanning constantly for threats. The security assessment, diplomatic shuttle crash landed into Galactic Council primary chamber. Minimal casualties observed. Structural damage confined to entry point. Recommend immediate extraction. The aliens stared at them. Then stared some more. Then, as one, took another step back. Finally, a tall, willowy creature with iridescent scales and elaborate robes glided forward. Its voice emerged from a translator device, measured and dripping with disdain. I am High Counselor Vrex Toll of the Zinthari Collective. You have disrupted the 12,457th session of the Galactic Council, destroyed a historic architectural marvel, and violated 17 separate safety protocols. The alien's crest fluttered in what Jack assumed was agitation. Identify yourselves immediately. Jack attempted his most winning smile. Jack Gallagher, acting ambassador from Earth. This is Commander Kira Novak, my security detail. We had some ship trouble. Ship trouble? Vrex Toll repeated flatly. You penetrated the most secure facility in the galaxy due to ship trouble. In our defense, Jack offered, your station was directly in our uncontrollable descent path. A murmur went through the assembled delegates. One small alien with multiple eye stalks whispered loudly enough for Jack's translator to pick up, they survived that impact. Just like the report said. Kira stepped forward. We request emergency assistance for our vessel and formal meeting accommodations as previously arranged. Vrex Toll's scales shifted from iridescent blue to a mottled purple. You expect to continue with diplomatic proceedings after this entrance? Our mission parameters haven't changed, Kira stated flatly. Jack could practically feel the temperature in the room drop. What my colleague means, he interjected hastily, is that we're still very excited about joining the galactic community, despite this unfortunate first impression. Vrex Toll's gaze shifted between them, then to the crashed shuttle, then back to them. The humans will be escorted to temporary quarters while the Council determines how to proceed. Guards, attend them. As several armored aliens approached carefully, Jack noted Vrex Toll added quietly to an aide, and update the classification immediately. Class 10 was clearly an underestimation. 6 hours later, Jack and Kira found themselves back in the council chamber, now -1 crashed shuttle and sporting a hastily erected force field patch over the dome. The mood had not improved. They sat at a designated table that appeared to have been placed significantly farther from all other delegates than the standard arrangement would suggest. Jack tried not to take it personally. The council recognizes the human delegation, Vrex Toll announced with obvious reluctance. You may address the assembly regarding your arrival. Jack stood up, straightening his rumpled diplomatic attire. Esteemed delegates of the Galactic Council, on behalf of Earth, I extend our sincere apologies for our unconventional entrance. We assure you it was not intentional and does not reflect humanity's approach to interstellar relations. A delegate with features resembling a cross between a jellyfish and a chandelier raised a glowing appendage. Point of information, High Counselor. Have the humans been informed of their classification? Vrex Toll's scales rippled. Not officially, no. What classification? Jack asked. The chamber fell silent. It seems pertinent, the jellyfish chandelier continued, given recent events. Vrex Toll sighed at least. Jack assumed the whistling sound was a sigh. Very well. The human delegation is hereby formally notified that Earth has been classified as a Class 12 death world. Kira frowned. What's a death world? Another uncomfortable silence. A death world, a new voice piped up, is a planet with environmental conditions considered extremely hazardous by galactic standards. All heads turned to a small alien making its way toward the human table. It stood barely 3 feet tall, with fuzzy green fur and enormous golden eyes. Its 6 limbs moved in perfect coordination as it approached, carrying what appeared to be a stack of data tablets. Dr. Pip Ike, xenobiologist, the small alien introduced itself, specialist in extreme environment adaptation. May I join you? The data potential is extraordinary. Before either human could respond, Vrex Tull interrupted. Dr. Pip Ike, the safety protocols are necessary for most species, yes, but my homeworld has 1.3 times standard gravity. I'm adequately equipped to survive proximity. The small alien hopped onto an empty chair at their table without waiting for permission. Jack watched in bewilderment as the rest of the chamber collectively leaned away from their table. I don't understand, he said. Earth isn't that dangerous. It's quite nice, actually. Pip Ike's ears twitched excitedly. Your planet features extreme temperature variations, high gravity, toxic atmospheric components, lethal radiation levels, aggressive predators, microscopic pathogens, and natural disasters that would exterminate most sentient species. When you put it that way, Jack muttered. Kira looked unimpressed. Sounds like Tuesday. A horrified gasp echoed through the chamber. And that, Pip Ike continued enthusiastically, is why humans are classified as Class 12. Your species evolved under conditions that would kill 97.8% of known sentient life forms. You're essentially walking catastrophes. Jack blinked. That's flattering? Vrex Tull cleared their throat, or whatever passed for one. Now that this has been established, we must address the urgent matter of human integration into the Council. As the discussion continued, Jack noticed the wide berth given to their table. Every time he shifted in his seat, nearby delegates flinched. When Kira stretched her arms, 3 different species activated personal shields. They're terrified of us, he whispered to Pip Ike. The small alien nodded cheerfully. Of course. You survived a crash that would have liquefied most species. Your internal skeleton is made of minerals that can withstand crushing pressure. Your skin contains defensive colonies of microorganisms. You breathe oxygen, a corrosive gas, and by galactic standards, you're practically indestructible. Jack stared at the roomful of advanced alien dignitaries cowering from 2 ordinary humans. This could complicate diplomacy. Pip Ike's eyes gleamed. On the contrary, it makes you extraordinarily valuable allies. The council session dragged on for another 2 hours, primarily consisting of various delegates proposing increasingly elaborate safety measures for human interaction. Jack was beginning to feel like a walking biohazard. This is ridiculous, Kira muttered as a 6-armed delegate suggested mandatory containment fields around all human quarters. We're not contagious. Actually, Pip Ike chimed in helpfully. Your microbiome contains approximately 38 trillion microorganisms, many of which could theoretically. Not helping, Doc, Jack interrupted. Vrex Tull was now presiding over a vote on whether humans should be required to wear atmosphere containment suits outside their quarters. The motion appeared to be gaining support. Jack stood up abruptly. Excuse me, but this is becoming absurd. We've coexisted with other species for months now during the initial contact phase. No incidents were reported. That's not entirely accurate, Vrex Tull countered. 3 Lixarian diplomats were hospitalized after shaking hands with your president. That was an allergic reaction, Jack protested. Your epidermal defenses, Pip Ike added enthusiastically. Fascinating adaptation. A delegate rose from the far side of the chamber. The danger is clear. Perhaps we should reconsider human membership altogether. Jack felt his diplomatic mission crumbling. In frustration, he slammed his hand down on the table, which promptly split in 2 with a resounding crack. The chamber erupted in panic. Containment breach. Someone screamed. Deathworlder aggression display. Another voice wailed. Kira surveyed the broken table with mild interest. Flimsy craftsmanship. Jack stared at the damage in horror. I didn't mean to. It must be made of weaker materials than it looked. Standard density alloy? Pip-Eek informed him cheerfully. Designed to support 8 times its weight in documentation. You exceeded its structural tolerance by approximately 340%. As Jack stammered apologies, Kira reached for a nearby carafe. I need a drink after this circus. She poured a glowing blue liquid into a cup and downed it in one gulp. A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. What? Kira asked, noticing the stares. Pip-Ike's eyes were wider than seemed anatomically possible. That was Zinthari industrial lubricant for the automated serving units. Tastes like cheap vodka, Kira shrugged, pouring another. It's corrosive to organic tissue, Pip-Ike whispered. Maybe to you, Kira replied, finishing her second cup. A delegate fainted. Vrex Tull looked ready to join them. Jack pinched the bridge of his nose. Commander, please stop drinking the alien poison. But it's the first decent drink I've had since leaving Earth. As if this weren't enough, a curious delegate approached their table maintaining what they clearly considered a safe distance and asked, Is it true that your planet contains self-propelled masses of muscle that actively hunt other creatures? You mean animals? Jack asked. Well, yes, Earth has diverse wildlife. Kira snorted. Like the mosquitoes in Minnesota. Now those are killers. Microscopic airborne predators? The delegate clarified, antennae quivering. Well, not microscopic, but small flying insects that drink blood, Jack explained. Your planet has flying creatures that consume bodily fluids, and you consider this normal? Jack tried to salvage the conversation. They're just small pests. We have bigger predators, Kira interrupted. Bears, wolves, sharks, tax auditors. The chamber descended into chaos again. Pip-Ike bounced excitedly in their seat. Could you describe these tax auditors? Are they apex predators? Jack buried his face in his hands. This is going well. As delegates argued about quarantine procedures and danger classifications, Pip-Eek appointed themselves the unofficial human interpreter, attempting to explain that yes, humans lived on a planet where death literally fell from the sky sometimes, lightning, and no, this wasn't considered unusual. Perhaps, Pip-Ike suggested when the uproar had slightly subsided, we should focus on the benefits of having Deathworlders as allies rather than the perceived dangers? Before anyone could respond, an explosion rocked the chamber. Red emergency lights bathed the council chamber as alarms wailed. Jack found himself instinctively ducking for cover, while beside him Kira was already in a defensive stance, sidearm drawn. The station is under attack, Vrex Tull announced, their scales now pale, frightened white. Security protocols activated. Another explosion, closer this time. The council chamber doors burst open, and a group of armed figures stormed in. Raxon pirates, Pip-Ike whispered, cowering behind Jack. Notorious criminals. They must be after the council's secure data. The pirates, a motley collection of various species, all heavily armed, spread out through the chamber. Their leader, a brutish reptilian with cybernetic enhancements, stepped forward. Nobody moves, nobody gets disintegrated, he growled. We're taking control of this station. Cooperate. And you might live to complain about it later. Jack looked around, expecting the council security forces to respond. Instead, he witnessed something astonishing. The entire Galactic Council, representatives of the most advanced civilizations in known space, were freezing in terror. Some were literally entering biological stasis states. Others were simply paralyzed with fear. What's happening? He whispered to Pip-Ike. Most evolved species have highly developed risk avoidance responses, the small alien explained, trembling. Direct confrontation is not in our nature. You're all just going to let them take over? Pip-Ike's ears drooped. We are diplomats, not warriors. Well, I'm not either, but I'm not sitting here while space pirates hijack the galaxy's government. Jack turned to Kira. Any ideas, Commander? Kira was already assessing the situation with cold efficiency. 8 hostiles, mixed species, energy weapons, no visible body armor. Overconfident. Used to intimidation working. So we're outnumbered and outgunned. Please. Kira smirked. We're Deathworlders. Before Jack could respond, the pirate leader approached Vrex Toll's podium. High Counselor, you will provide access codes to the central data vault. Vrex Toll's translator emitted a series of helpless stutters. Now, the pirate fired his weapon at the ceiling, sending debris crashing down. Jack caught Kira's eye. She nodded almost imperceptibly, then whispered to Pip-Ike, when it starts, get under the table. When what starts? Pip-Ike asked. Jack never heard the answer because Kira had already launched into action. She moved with shocking speed, closing the distance to the nearest pirate before anyone realized what was happening. One precise strike later, the pirate was unconscious on the floor. The chamber erupted in chaos. Jack wasn't a soldier, but he wasn't about to let Kira fight alone. Grabbing a broken piece of their table, apparently human-proof material made excellent improvised weapons, he charged toward another pirate. What followed was a display of Deathworlder capabilities that would haunt the nightmares of the Galactic Council for generations. Kira moved with predatory efficiency, neutralizing threats with terrifying precision. Jack, lacking her training, made up for it with human durability and the innovative application of furniture. The pirate leader, seeing his crew being systematically dismantled by 2 creatures less than half the size of his largest guards, fired wildly at Kira. The energy blast grazed her arm, leaving a nasty burn. That stings, she remarked calmly, before throwing a decorative sculpture with enough force to knock him off his feet. Jack found himself cornered by 2 pirates. Anytime you want to share the fun, Commander. Little busy, Kira called back, as she used one pirate as a battering ram against another. Jack spotted a refreshment cart nearby. Pip-Ike, that blue stuff Kira drank, is it flammable? The small alien peeked out from under a fallen table. Highly. Jack grinned, grabbed the container of industrial lubricant, and used a pirate's dropped weapon to ignite it. The makeshift Molotov cocktail sailed across the chamber, landing among a group of advancing hostiles. The resulting explosion wasn't large, but it was spectacular and extremely effective. Deathworlders, one of the pirates screamed. They're using chemical weapons. The pirate leader staggered to his feet, looking at the 2 humans with new respect and fear. What are you? Jack straightened his singed diplomatic uniform, Earth's first diplomatic mission. And you're interrupting our meeting. In a final desperate move, the leader lunged at Vrex Toll, grabbing the High Counselor as a hostage. Stay back or the Counselor dies. Jack and Kira exchanged glances. Then Jack did something that made perfect sense to him but absolutely horrified every non-human in the room. He laughed. What's so funny, human? The pirate snarled. You picked the wrong hostage. Jack nodded toward something behind the pirate. Meet my friend Pip-Ike. The tiny alien, summoning courage from who knows where, had climbed up the council platform and now stood directly behind the pirate leader. With remarkable precision, Pip-Ike jammed a medical injector into the one unarmored spot on the pirate's anatomy. Wild sedative, Pip-Ike explained as the pirate collapsed, for research purposes only, of course. The remaining pirates, seeing their leader fall and facing 2 apparently unstoppable Deathworlders, surrendered immediately. This is unprecedented, Vrex Toll declared at the hastily reconvened council session. Never in the history of this institution has the primary chamber been the site of both a Class 4 transport catastrophe and a Level 7 security breach in the same day. Jack leaned toward Kira. Is that good or bad? Depends on whether they're measuring the disasters or our response to them, she whispered back. They sat at their new table significantly sturdier than the previous one, with Pip-Ike now officially seated as their science liaison. The rest of the chamber still maintained a respectful distance, but the nature of that distance had changed. It was less revulsion now, more awe. Vrex Toll continued. The Council has reviewed the events of today and has reached several conclusions. First, regarding the classification of humans and Earth. The designation of Class 12 Deathworld is officially confirmed and upgraded with a special notation regarding indigenous species resilience. Kira accepted this with a slight nod, while Jack tried not to look too proud of their planet's deadliness. Second, regarding the human diplomatic presence. Though your methods are unconventional, the Council acknowledges that without your intervention, today's pirate incursion could have resulted in catastrophic consequences. Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. Therefore, despite significant concerns about safety protocols, the Council has voted to accept human membership, effective immediately. Jack blinked in surprise. Really? Just like that? Vrextool's scales shimmered in what might have been amusement. Ambassador Gallagher, you destroyed priceless architecture, demonstrated strength sufficient to shatter reinforced alloys, consumed toxic substances without effect, and neutralized armed hostiles using improvised weapons. The Council has determined that having humans as allies is vastly preferable to any alternative arrangement. Smart move, Kira commented. Furthermore, Vrextool continued, given your unique qualifications, Ambassador Gallagher, you are hereby appointed as permanent human representative to the Council. Jack's jaw dropped. But I'm not qualified. I was a last-minute replacement. You survived crashing through our ceiling, battled space pirates, and still attempted to follow diplomatic protocols. By Council standards, you are eminently qualified. Kira smirked. Congratulations, Ambassador. And Commander Novak, Vrextool added. In recognition of your exceptional security capabilities, you are requested to remain as the permanent head of the Human Diplomatic Security Detail. Now it was Kira's turn to look dismayed. But I have a ship assignment waiting. The Council's decision is final, Vrextool stated firmly, with the unmistakable undertone of please don't leave us alone with these Deathworlders. As the session concluded, new protocols were established for human interaction, less focused on containment, more on preventing accidental damage to Council property. Jack found himself the reluctant center of attention, with delegates cautiously approaching to establish relations with Earth. Pip Ik, now their self-appointed cultural interpreter, bustled around explaining human customs to curious aliens. No, they don't bite unprovoked. Yes, they require regular hydration, but not with lubricants. No, offering them live food is unnecessary and possibly offensive. Later, in their newly assigned diplomatic quarters, conspicuously reinforced and somewhat isolated from other species, Jack collapsed onto a couch engineered to withstand 4 times normal gravity. We've made a complete mess of first contact, he groaned. Kira, inspecting the room's security features with professional interest, shrugged. We saved their government and got them to respect us. I'd call that a win. They respect us because they think we're walking natural disasters. Aren't we? She picked up a decorative object, which promptly crumbled in her grip. Oops, Ike. The door chimed and Pip Ik entered, carrying a stack of data tablets taller than themselves. Wonderful news, the small alien announced. 17 species have already submitted alliance proposals with Earth, 8 defensive pacts are being drafted, and the Zinthari have withdrawn their motion to require humans to wear containment suits. Jack raised an eyebrow. All because we beat up some pirates? Pip Ik settled into a chair carefully reinforced and fixed them with those enormous golden eyes. You misunderstand. The galaxy is full of dangers, Ambassador. Most species evolve to avoid them through cooperation, technology, and diplomacy. Humans evolve to overcome them through sheer resilience. So we're respected because we're dangerous, Kira concluded. You're valued because you're protectors, Pip Ik corrected. The Council has existed for millennia by avoiding conflicts. Today they witnessed another path facing danger directly. Jack considered this. So we're accidentally revolutionizing galactic politics by being too stubborn to run away from a fight. Precisely. Pip Ik beamed. Also, 3 different biotech corporations want to study your microbiome, and the Galactic Gastronomy Guild is fascinated by Commander Novak's ability to metabolize industrial lubricants. Kira frowned. It still tasted like cheap vodka. As Jack contemplated this new reality accidentally becoming the most terrifying and sought-after species in the galaxy, he couldn't help but laugh. "Something humorous, Ambassador?" Pip inquired. "Just thinking about my job description back on Earth. Cultural anthropologist. I was supposed to study other cultures, not become an interstellar diplomatic incident. Adjustments are necessary in all diplomatic endeavors," Pip said sagely. Outside their window, the vast expanse of space glittered with stars, each potentially harboring civilizations that would soon learn about the strange, durable creatures from a backwater death world who had crashed their way into galactic politics. "Well," Jack said, raising an imaginary glass, "here's to humanity's grand entrance into the galactic community. May they never recover from the shock." Kira raised her own glass filled with proper human-safe beverages this time. "Married to being Deathworlders." Pip watched them with fascination. "You know, most species live in constant fear of the universe's dangers. Humans seem to challenge them instead." "That's humanity for you," Jack replied with a grin. "We're too stubborn to know when we should be terrified." As the three unlikely allies toasted Earth's new place in the galaxy, somewhere in the council chamber, Vrex Tool was drafting new construction standards for the rebuilt dome, this time human-proof. Just in case.